So I have to tell you both, we got to watch a few of the first episodes. The show is amazing.
Aww.
You guys, the chemistry is great. I feel like you feel like you're in it. Like you understand these ladies, you get it. I will say it's a little more risque than we're used to for Hallmark, right. which is exciting. You know, there's talk of fertility and someone living with a boyfriend that they're not married to and kind of new concepts. So how does it feel to be bringing that to Hallmark? Is that
I think it's why
thing?
we signed on to do it. I think, you know, the landscape of TV that we're used to watching now, it's like you have incredibly cutting edge content on any number of streamers, and so staying in that conversation and in that level
and even
of
network, you know,
yeah, and even network
too.
I
think it
even
reflects,
on networks,
but I think it reflects, just reflects the changes in this country, and it still is a Hallmark show where people are going to be able to go to bed happy and having smiled
cozy,
and had a lovely experience. But it goes a little bit deeper, and I think it rings a little more true. Even though these are somewhat extreme characters, they're all part of a family that's somewhat dysfunctional and trying to find their way back to being friends again. And it's a hard road because there's just been a lot of history that they haven't quite worked through.
I like to say it's like Steel Magnolias meets Schitt's Creek, in that it has like that kind of like really identifiable 80s, 90s movie kind of comfort, aspirational Americana feel, but it's also really avant-garde and absurd and laugh out loud funny. And to me, that's just like a chef's kiss TV moment.
That's a good description of it. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you're talking about funny, obviously it's hilarious. So there's laughter in it, but there's sadness through the characters and what they're dealing with. Wendy, we've known you for years to be a funny lady. I think Gus has humor in a different way. It's maybe not so obvious. But I'm curious, is it harder to play a character where it's a little more subtle, or is it harder to be that kind of in-your-face funny person?
Gus was a challenge for me. In the first couple episodes, I was trying to kind of find her because I didn't want her just to be a cranky old witch. But then I found that she did have this kind of irreverent sense of humor, and that was her coping device. And that when you see her with her friends, you realize she has a whole other side to her that she doesn't reveal to most of the town. She's pretty protected. And it's been through a lot of stuff, which you'll learn about as the season goes on. But once I kind of found that in her and realized there's a lot of warmth and there's a big heart underneath that shell. Actually, Genevieve said I'm like a crab with a very crusty exterior, but inside I'm all squishy.
Hard surface, but like
Crusty.
Softness is right there beneath.
Yeah, and I think all these characters, they put on a good front, but underneath it, well, maybe not so much Nancy and Amanda, because they're both incredibly sweet human beings.
Oh, I think Nancy's like very, very front. A lot of facade.
Yeah, she's a little passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff going on there too. But I actually end up. Well, I'm not going to tell you.
Mimi's girls are just more direct. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think your characters, though, like you said, it's relatable because every family has dysfunction and every person has layers, and to get to see that and kind of see who do you relate to and how you tie into that is.
And I think that
what audiences
that
will love.
helps audiences invest in these characters more. They see the flaws, but it makes them more human.
Yeah.
I wonder if people walk away being like, "Are you a May or an Amanda? Are you a Gus or are you a Nancy?"
I think they will, because I feel like after a few episodes, I was already thinking like, Mimi's, Franny's, which side would I pick? Yeah.
Where do you land?
Oh gosh, I feel like right now I'm torn because we're starting to see a little of the darkness from the Franny side.
Yeah.
And a little maybe of the lightness from the Mimi side.
Initially, it looks like it's pretty out of whack, but as time goes by, you realize
we're all the same.
Yeah, what the world needs to hear. Anyway, right?
We're all just doing the best we can with what we got.
Yeah. So, Genevieve, your character is kind of in this web of lies. We learn why she had to create this persona and kind of come up with who she is, but is that a challenge when you're playing that character to like get inside of her head and why did she get to this point and how am I going to be in this web and portray this different person?
I'm one of the most transparent, honest. have a hard time lying, but I had no problem with this for some reason. I think I just feel like it's so well written that I really understood why, you know, I think I understand being motivated by shame, which I think a lot of people do. It's like the last feeling that anyone ever wants to feel of, you know, guilt, regret, whatever. Shame is like the capital S, the last thing. And I think a person will do pretty much anything to hide the stuff that makes them feel that. And I understand that. I think one thing that's challenging just as an actor about playing someone who lies a lot is being able to convincingly express the spontaneity of deciding to lie. When you know the line and you know what's coming, to not kind of like anticipate and reveal that it's like a constructed thing from the script. Yeah, that's for me a tricky thing to do as an actor. And
you did it well.
I absolutely nailed it every time.
You did.
All right, yes you did.
JK, yeah.
You have very complex characters, both of you, and I'm excited to hear more about each of them as the season goes on. Did either of you have a favorite thing about your character or a least favorite thing?
I mean, I'm just so annoyingly clean. Well, I guess that's my least favorite thing. My favorite thing is I mean, favorite experiences. I just loved the days when the four of us were together. Like, I that was nothing that we ever took for granted, because the four leads have four different plot lines, and often we would be working with the supporting cast more than the lead cast. But on the a couple of scenes where it's the four of us in a room, it was like, you guys, we're here. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that was very fun. I think for Gus, it's that she suffers no fools. She is pretty direct for the most part. And what I didn't like about her is her house, which is terrifying. Yeah. But that's all to be revealed.
Yeah, that was one thing I was actually going to ask. So this, obviously, hoarding is a topic of this. And it's funny, I'm actually reading a book about that and how it can really interfere with the family and their lifestyle. Are we going to see more of that?
Well, it's interesting, too, when Genevieve was talking about shame and what a driving force that can be and crippling. And I think that's such a big part of Gus, too, is just things have gotten out of control in her life. And you'll find out why later in this season. But I think it's a disease that a lot of people struggle with, and it's trying to replace some emotional deficit with stuff, and it's probably a lot more common than we realize.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's an interesting topic that I think more people probably can relate to than we even know.
They managed to put a lot of interesting challenges in this world that we inhabit. Yeah. In Merrineck. A lot of people are dealing with some pretty crazy stuff in this.
All the things in the little town, right? I feel like I have to ask you a food question because the show obviously talks about food so much. So not cooking, you guys would not be the cooks, but if you were to open a restaurant, you kind of have the concept. What would you want to serve? What type of food would we be able to go into the restaurant and order?
Well, in my restaurant, you would first. Okay, this would be the menu. You'd have a section that's just for wings. Okay, so that's like part one. Part two is Christmas cookies. Okay, and then part three is just you can just have different proportions of peanut butter to Nutella. But you just get spoons of peanut butter and Nutella, and like more Nutella, more peanut butter, maybe different things to put the peanut butter and Nutella on.
Okay. That's marketing that might be a little tricky, but I like it.
I think it really will sell itself.
It's a unique
poultry and candy.
They'll be lining up. Yeah. Mine would be probably grilled sustainable fish.
Oh my God.
I would have an oyster bar. Just the little oysters. I like the small PEIs.
She's so classy.
It would have an array of salads. Okay. And roasted vegetables that are just really genius good. And you'd always have an option of having nuts. You'd get nuts with your martini. Okay. They would offer warm nuts with your martini at the beginning. And flourless chocolate cake.
Ooh, all right. Well, we have like cheat day and then every day. I love it.
And when you're hungry, you can come over to my place and have a meal. Your wings and your brownie stars.
Yeah, I love that. Last question I have for both of you. What is it you hope audiences are going to take away from the show or the characters in the show?
I hope they say, "Wow, my family's not so bad after all." No. I think what I hope they take away from this is that this is about people who are all doing the best they can under very bizarre circumstances, but that there's a lot of love in this town, and it just has to be let out. And what will it take to get these people to open up their hearts and minds and souls again?
I hope they take away subscriptions to Hallmark streaming platform. That's I think only something like $6 a month. It's so affordable. That's what I hope they take away.
And that we were, I think, all really surprised in a wonderful way at how many unanswered questions there are even at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that we could run with after this, which would be really fun.
Yeah.
So we just want an excuse to go back and play it with each other again next year.
Well, I think based on the first few episodes that there might be a high probability of that. I think fans are really going to love this show. So congratulations to you guys.
We love doing it.
I'm excited for it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Nice to meet you both.
You too.
Nice to meet you too.